Revealed. Billionaire's shocking secret pregnant by a homeless man she once humiliated. The headline screamed from every digital screen, and Sarah Williams felt the walls of her glass office closing in around her. The San Francisco skyline, once a testament to her triumph, now mocked her with its gleaming towers. The rhythm of her heart clashed with the relentless pounding of her thoughts, spiraling into a whirlpool of dread. How had it come to this? All her years of clawing her way to the top now felt like crumbling sandcastles beneath an unforgiving tide. 5 years had passed since she shunned Daniel at that fateful gala. His raw honesty had stripped away her carefully crafted persona, leaving behind an echo of uncertainty. She brushed aside those memories until now. Panic coursed through her veins as her fingers trembled over the pristine surface of her polished desk. Rumors were swirling, and with her company spiraling into chaos, her entire empire dangled by a fragile thread. One misstep away from losing everything. Her breath hitched. The anxiety was suffocating. She felt the weight of judgment pressing down, a reminder that success could evaporate in a moment. Sarah's mind raced. Could the whispers of the press lead to further disgrace? Her pulse quickened, her stomach twisted. Could she really be pregnant? The reality settled uneasily, turning hope into an oppressive burden. What future awaited a child born in shame? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The weight of her past clashed with the uncertainty of her present. Daniel, the man she had dismissed like a discarded thought, only to realize he held more wisdom in his calloused hands than she ever dared to cultivate in her sterile office meetings. The tides were turning, and with them came a gnawing sense of guilt. She replayed that humiliating moment. The flicker of truth he ignited in her, that evening, his honesty so stark it sent her reeling. What had she done? Now, as the chaos within her company mirrored the storms raging within her heart, Sarah began to reconsider everything. Friendships that had once seemed unwavering now felt shallow and brittle. Her colleagues' sneering critical opinions echoed in her mind as she wandered through the streets where she'd first crossed paths with Daniel. Could she really bear to connect with someone so far removed from her world? Each interaction with him chipped away at her fortified defenses, intertwining her life story with his entangled knots of fate. The anxiety festered. The scrutiny she faced grew sharper as the papers continued to leak her personal life, feeding the frenzy. Friends warned her, mocked her. "What are you doing with him?" echoed like a cruel chime. But in Daniel, she found a flicker of understanding that sparked something deep within her, a questioning of her own heart's intent. That moment of recognition, as the storm clouds gathered while whispers of scandal brewed, Sarah felt the realization wash over her. She was not merely clinging to her image. She was teetering on the precipice of transformation, desperate to break free from the shackles of expectation. The impending revelation of her pregnancy hung like a sword above her. It was an echo of life and redemption, or a looming disaster waiting to tear her life apart. As she stood on the edge of her new reality, a solitary thought pierced through. Could love truly bridge the gap between her world and Daniel's? Or would the past snatch her happiness from her grasp, leaving her suffocating in the very gilded cage she had built? Sarah's mind raced as she paced the length of her office, the sleek linoleum floor reflecting her internal turmoil. The digital clock on her desk, a constant reminder of time slipping away, served only to amplify her anxiety. The media frenzy buzzed outside, and the whispers of her colleagues felt like an oppressive fog invading her space. It was a timely reminder of her worst fears, the cracks in her carefully curated life widening with every rumor propagated by the tabloids. She glanced out the floor-to-ceiling windows, the vast city before her a stark contrast to her chaotic mind. The bustling streets, filled with people, all pursuing their dreams, seemed to mock her current state. A child's laughter drifted up from the street, a haunting reminder of innocence amidst her self-imposed turmoil. There was so much at stake now, and the knowledge of her pregnancy weighed heavily on her conscience. This was not just about her anymore. It was about the life within her. With a deep inhale, Sarah resolved to take control of her situation. She could let the tabloids dictate her story, or she could rewrite it. The thought alone sparked a flicker of determination within her, though it was surrounded by uncertainty. If she was to confront Daniel, to face the truth, she needed to confront herself first. What was it that drove her ambition, the need for validation, or the desire to make a difference? Could she truly be the woman who embraced vulnerability instead of hiding behind her business persona? The realization that her emotions had long been a double-edged sword dawned on her. She had cultivated her career through sheer determination, but at what cost? Relationships had fallen to the wayside, her friendships weakened by superficiality. The walls she built to shield herself now felt like prisons. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had spent years ensuring others never glimpsed her flaws while distancing herself from what it truly meant to be connected, to be real. Taking a seat, her hands enveloped her face as a wave of panic washed over her. How could she reach out to Daniel? Could she bear to face the judgment, the shame of seeking forgiveness from the very person she had once shunned? Her instincts urged her to retreat, to shield her heart, but she knew that denying her feelings would only lead to further isolation. With a swift determination, she grabbed her phone, hands trembling, and scrolled through her contacts. Daniel's name stood out like a beacon in the darkness. A sense of longing intertwined with dread as she debated the wisdom of reaching out. What would he say? Would he even want to speak with her after everything? But was avoiding confrontation really an option anymore? Her inner conflict clamored for resolution. Closing her eyes, she envisioned a future, one where she could find peace and perhaps even build a meaningful relationship, not just with Daniel, but with herself. She had to be brave enough to embrace that future, even if it meant facing her fears head-on. With steely resolve, she hit call, the sound of the ringing echoing in the recesses of her mind. Each ring was a reminder that change was imminent. She could feel the air thickening with possibility. Hello? The voice pierced through the uncertainty like a ray of light. Daniel, she said, her voice quivering with a mix of vulnerability and courage. I need to talk. The line went silent, and for a heartbeat, nothing existed but the gravity of her confession. As Daniel processed her words, uncertainty loomed around her. Would this mark the beginning of a new chapter, or would the past pull her back into darkness? The moment stretched like elastic, taut and ready to snap, and Sarah realized this was merely the prologue of an unpredictable journey she was about to embark upon. The question that loomed now was whether she could weave the fragmented strands of her life into something whole again. The silence felt like an eternity, and Sarah's heart raced in her chest as she mentally braced for Daniel's reply. She could picture him, somewhere on the other end, processing her request with the weight of their history looming over him like a storm cloud. They had shared so much, yet it had all been unraveled with one reckless decision after another. Finally, his voice broke through, firm and steady. What do you want to talk about? The question was simple, but it felt layered with complexity. Could she bear the truth without shattering what piece of their relationship remained? Every instinct screamed at her to soften the blow, to sugarcoat her confession, but she fought against that impulse. Authenticity was the path back to connection, even if that connection was tenuous at best. I wanted to tell you about the baby, she stammered, barely able to contain the tremor in her voice. The pause on the line was deafening. She mentally cursed herself, forcing her mind to spin possibilities. Maybe he would be angry or shocked, or worse, indifferent. Sarah, he said at last, his tone no longer containing that gentle warmth she once knew. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Tears stung her eyes as she braced herself against the emotions swelling inside her. I was scared, Daniel. Scared of what it meant for us. Scared of what people would say. She admitted, the words spilling out before she could rein them back in. The truth hung between them, a potent mixture of fear and vulnerability. She could almost visualize the emotional walls they had both built around themselves over the years. Daniel had been her rock, yet she had pushed him away the moment she needed him most. I didn't want to be another statistic, she confessed, her voice cracking. Now, with everything that is happening, it feels like I've lost control of my story. Sarah, you don't lose control unless you hand it over, he remarked, the tension in his voice sharp but not unkind. His words hit her like a slap, stark and penetrating. Did she truly want others to dictate how she felt? The realization struck her. She had been so busy armor-plating herself against the world, she had forgotten to protect the most important thing, her own acceptance of her vulnerability. I have to take responsibility, Daniel. I can't keep hiding, she continued, emboldened by her own revelation. I want to face this together. I need you in my life to be a part of this. There was another silence, but this one felt different. It was filled with a weight of decisions yet to be made. She could almost feel their past inching toward them like an unresolved conflict, framing the choice they needed to navigate together. I don't think I could just jump back into this, Sarah, he finally said carefully. You can't expect everything to go back to how it was. His honesty stirred a pang deep within her. Did she really expect that? Perhaps the desire for an easy reconciliation had clouded her judgment. Acceptance would have to come with hard work on both sides. Maybe I don't want everything back to how it was, she replied, instinctively challenging the familiar impulse to retreat. I want us to build something new, however difficult that may be. A profound stillness fell over the conversation, pregnant with possibility, and she clung to the hope that what lay ahead could be stronger than what they had before. Let us meet, he finally said, his voice steadier. We need to have this talk in person, no distractions. There is too much at stake already. As the conversation wound to an end, Sarah felt a mix of trepidation and excitement. This would be their first step, not just in confronting their feelings, but in rewriting a future that had become so uncertain. It hit her suddenly. They both stood at the precipice of something monumental. The battle would not just be between them and their past, but a test of their resolve to build something genuine out of the ashes. As she hung up, Sarah took a deep breath, resolved to confront her fears, knowing that the real journey had only just begun. The question loomed, was she really ready to embrace the truth, regardless of where it led? In the days leading up to their meeting, Sarah found herself in a whirlwind of anticipation and self-reflection. Each moment was charged with the promise of change, yet laced with the anxiety that accompanied stepping into the unknown. She had been avoiding the looming reality, but now that she had voiced her fears to Daniel, it felt as if she had shattered a glass wall. The reflections of her life, chaotic as they were, seemed more bearable when confronted. She leaned into her work, using the exhaustion of long hours at the office as a buffer against the inner turmoil. Each spreadsheet she filled out became a minor victory, a testament to her focus, her ability to create order amidst the uncertainties of her personal life. Yet, even in the predictability of data, her mind wandered back to Daniel, his voice, the weight of their shared past, and the fragile hope of a future. Every thought about their upcoming conversation brought a swell of questions with it. What did she truly want from the meeting? Connection? Forgiveness? A partnership built on transparency? The more she pondered, the more she recognized the gravity of her own desires. She didn't want to return to the comfortable cycle of pretense. She craved authenticity. Her visualizations of that meeting became increasingly vivid. Sarah imagined herself walking into the cafe where they had shared countless moments, both joyous and fraught. Would Daniel's expression reveal skepticism? Hope? Would it mirror her own chaotic state? Or could they find common ground amidst their differences? As she prepared for their conversation, carefully selecting her outfit, rehearsing her words in the mirror, she realized that none of it mattered if she didn't embrace her own truth. Daniel had laid bare the possibility that she was the one who had surrendered control all along. In that light, she grasped the most crucial takeaway. She must own not just her vulnerability, but her strength. That on the day of their meeting, she arrived early, taking a moment to breathe deeply as she approached the cafe. The corners of her mind filled with unresolved memories of her relationship with Daniel, each layer a testament to how far they had drifted apart, yet shining with fragments of their shared joy. The unease, however, did not dissipate. Maybe the uneasiness was essential. It felt like the prelude to vulnerability, the precursor that signaled growth. This was not just about confronting Daniel, but confronting herself, her feelings, her expectations, and her responsibilities. This meeting would reveal whether she was ready to stand tall in her truth. When Daniel arrived, there was an undeniable shift in the atmosphere. The tension between them felt electric, charged with the weight of unsaid words and untold dreams. He looked at her with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity, as if attempting to decipher a puzzle scattered at their feet. "Hey," he said, breaking the silence, but leaving room for unspoken feelings to hover in the air. Her heart raced, and she fought the instinct to retreat to safety. "Hey," she replied, standing firm. She was determined to not let fear dictate the tone of their reunion. This was her moment to redefine herself, and she wouldn't shy away. Yet, inner doubt flickered within her, challenging her resolve. Had she prepared adequately? Would her revelations resonate? Or would they fall flat, buried under the weight of their past? "I think we need to talk about what this all means," Daniel began, and Sarah steeled herself. Was he ready to truly explore the depths of their shared history? To wrestle with the implications of bringing a child into their tumultuous history? "I agree," she answered, her voice steady. A flicker of determination ignited within her as they settled into the cafe's corner. A myriad of feelings pulsed through her: fear, excitement, and an undeniable sense of possibility. Each shouldered responsibility loomed large. But would this conversation catalyze a transformation they both desperately needed? The moment felt fragile, yet infused with a dawning strength. And just as she felt ready to open her heart fully, the barista interrupted to take their order, drawing her attention away from the imminent exchange. It wasn't just the conversation that awaited them, but the decision that could redefine the trajectory of their lives. Yet, as she looked into Daniel's eyes, she questioned her ability to articulate her vulnerability. Would she truly reveal the depths of her heart, or would fear lead her to camouflage the intensity of her emotions once more? The stakes had never been higher. With everything on the table, she sensed the truth was on the brink of emergence. But could she trust herself enough to embrace it fully, knowing it could either bind them closer together or tear them apart irrevocably? As the barista walked away, Sarah inhaled deeply, determined to step forward. The choice lay before her. How much of herself would she reveal? Would she finally take control of the narrative that had once spiraled out of her grasp? The path ahead was uncertain, the answer shrouded in mystery. But one thing was clear: this conversation would shape the narrative not just for her and Daniel, but for the new life they both stood to influence. Steeling herself, she prepared to speak, to break the silence that had governed too much of their lives. But at that moment, the door swung open, and another couple entered, laughing, wiping away the tension with their vibrant energy. It brought her to a sudden realization: what if she was about to confront not only Daniel, but also the very fear she had kept at bay? Would they both find clarity, or would the reemergence of their past complicate the complexities ahead? Sarah felt her pulse quicken, each beat echoing the uncertainty of the moment. The laughter around her faded into a dull hum as she focused solely on Daniel. He blinked twice, as if momentarily distracted by the lively couple that had just entered. She wondered if he felt the same anxious anticipation she did, the kind that pressed against her chest like a heavy weight. The world outside the cafe kept spinning, vibrant and chaotic, while inside, she felt suspended in time. Could they turn the tide of their tangled past, Or were they simply destined to repeat the mistakes that had led them to this juncture? She clenched her hands on the table, grounding herself in that space as a physical reminder of her resolve to confront the issue head-on. "Sarah, are you okay?" Daniel's voice cut through her reveries. His brow was creased with concern, urging her to respond. Instead of allowing doubt to cloud her mind, she took a breath, letting the moment hang in the air, then released it slowly as if exhaling the uncertainty. "I need to be honest with you," she began, the words flowing through her with surprising clarity. "We've been tiptoeing around our feelings for too long. It's time we address everything we've pushed aside." His gaze sharpened, the air around them thickening. "I agree. We can't keep pretending. There's so much we haven't discussed." Her heart raced with the realization that both of them were ready to venture into uncharted territory. Each word felt laden with significance. This could either be the turning point they desperately needed or a spark that ignited the painful history they shared. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately," she continued, her stuttered breath gradually steadying. "About who I am, who I want to be, especially now that the reality of their shared responsibility loomed large. It was something she had not been willing to face alone, and now she could feel the walls of her previous defenses beginning to crack. "About the baby?" Daniel's voice was low, but she could hear the undercurrent of raw emotion. "Yes," she admitted, the word almost a whisper. "I want what's best for this child, and that means coming to terms with us. I don't want to hide behind fear anymore. I want to give this life a chance not just to exist, but to thrive." A flicker of vulnerability crossed his face, a sign that her words were being absorbed. Perhaps he, too, had long been wrestling with doubt and uncertainty. But as she let the moment sink in, she felt a resolve bubbling within her, urging her to push forward. "I need to know if you're ready to face this together," she pressed, her voice taking on a steadier tone as she continued. "I'm tired of uncertain boundaries. If we're going to make this work, we must commit to being authentic with each other." Daniel's expression shifted, and she caught a glimpse of the turmoil beneath the surface, the excitement of possibility mixed with the fear of their past failures. But this time, she sensed a glimmer of hope in the way he met her gaze, indicating perhaps he wasn't just willing to confront their situation, but was hungry for transformation. "We can't afford to slip back into old patterns," he said, the gravity of his tone striking her like a wave. "We need to decide if we can truly be partners in this." Sarah nodded, feeling a blend of exhilaration and anxiety tethering her to this moment. "It starts with honesty. I want you to share your feelings, too. The fear, the confusion, everything. No more holding back." The corners of Daniel's mouth tightened as he weighed her request. "I've been scared. Sarah's scared that I wouldn't be enough, that I'd fail again. We've built walls instead of bridges. Then let us break them down together," she urged, her heart racing as hope surged. But just as Daniel opened his mouth to respond, his phone buzzed loudly on the table, cutting through the fragile atmosphere. He glanced at the screen, confusion and concern washing over his features. It was unexpected, and in an instant, the tension shifted again, hanging delicately on the razor's edge between relief and apprehension. "Sorry," he said, raising a finger as he swiped to read the message. She resisted the urge to pull away, to let frustration rupture the tentative connection they had begun to forge. Instead, she seized the moment, reminding herself that vulnerability required patience. "Take your time," Sarah managed, but internally she questioned how the interruption might divert their focus. Could the truth they had begun to unravel be snatched away before it fully took form? As she watched Daniel's face, his fingers flying across the screen, Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of her own desires. She needed clarity, a resolution that cemented whatever journey lay ahead. Would they finally find the courage to lay bare their deepest fears, or would unforeseen complications once again derail their progress? Her heart thrummed at the uncertainty, and she braced for whatever would come next, but was she truly ready to process the truth, no matter how painful? In that moment, Sarah understood. The conversation was still in its infancy, The real dialogue hidden behind layers yet to be uncovered. As Daniel looked up, concern etched in his brow. The air shifted once more, thick with anticipation. Whatever the message indicated, it threatened to alter the trajectory of their meeting. She held her breath, anxious for clarity, yet aware that each moment was fraught with risks. What revelation awaited them? Would it bring them closer together or drive them further apart? Daniel finally looked up, his expression shifting from confusion to something almost unreadable. The air around Sarah became charged with the electricity of unspoken tension, a stark contrast to the vibrant cafe bustling with life outside. She recognized the familiar pang of vulnerability clawing at her insides, a feeling she had fought so hard to subdue. "What is it?" she pressed, urgency threading through her words. The weight of his attention was overwhelming, her heart pounding in response to the uncertainty. Was there news that could change everything they had just started to confront? It's about the project I'm working on," he stammered, his voice a mere whisper, heavy with an emotion she couldn't quite place. Her brow furrowed, confusion mingling with concern. "What about the project?" Sarah felt her stomach twist, the implications blossoming like a dark flower in her mind. Daniel hesitated, running a hand through his hair, a familiar gesture that spoke volumes of his inner turmoil. "I was approached with a lucrative opportunity," he began, his words carefully selected, as if testing their weight. Her heart raced with trajectories unknown. "And? It could change everything," he murmured, glancing down at his phone once more before returning his gaze to hers. "But it would mean relocating, moving away, possibly for a long time." The ground beneath Sarah shifted unexpectedly, tumultuous emotions crashing like waves. The thrill of confronting their emotional past now collided violently with the fear of a potentially seismic change in the balance of their lives. Could their nascent connection withstand the displacement of distance, the uncertainty of new beginnings? The thought of their fragile honesty being strained by distance felt like a heavy anchor pulling her deeper. "How soon?" she asked, voice steady despite the panic swirling within her. "A matter of weeks," he replied, voice barely above a whisper. As her brain scrambled to process this new reality, questions clamored for dominance. Could they sustain this connection over such a chasm? Would the honest discourse they had just started dissolve in a fleeting memory when stretched over thousands of miles? "I can't believe this is happening," she breathed, trembling slightly as she felt the walls she had just begun to let down fortify themselves. Daniel was supposed to be part of this uncertain journey, not creating another divide. "You don't have to decide anything right away," he insisted, leaning across the table. Fresh desperation filled his eyes, mirroring the conflict knotted in her heart. "I want us to figure this out together." His hands, warm and reassuring, reached for hers. "But it changes everything," she managed, swallowing the fear creeping up her throat. How could they build a stable foundation together when the very soil beneath them was sliding away? "I don't know if I can handle this on top of everything else." Their gazes locked, the intensity of the moment wrapping around them tightly like a shroud. She could feel his heartache reflecting her own. Sarah knew she had to cope with the pressing uncertainty of what was next, not just in the relationship, but with their futures looming before them. Yet, Sarah also sensed an opportunity within the chaos. This could be her moment of reckoning, a chance to decide who she was, free from the fear that had so long restrained her. Daniel's potential move could either be a separation or a catalyst for something deeper, forcing her to confront her future head-on. With that revelation, the gravity shifted once more. Maybe this is a sign," she said, voice barely above a whisper as the realization flourished. "Perhaps I need to take ownership of my life choice, too." Daniel's expression softened, a flicker of understanding ignited like a spark. "What do you mean?" "I've been avoiding defining what I want, what I need, because of the fear of losing you. But maybe this is the push I need to realize my own dreams." His eyes darkened slightly, masking emotions he was too guarded to convey, but she could see the unease coursing through him. He recognized the weight of her internal revelation. "Are you saying you would consider leaving with me?" Sarah hesitated, sensing still waters run deep. What if pushing away from her fears meant redefining her relationship with Daniel, not as lovers bound by uncertainty, but partners navigating life as broader landscape? "I think I need to explore that possibility. Not just for us, but for me, who I want to become." Her voice carried the strength of an unfamiliar conviction, each word a declaration against her own limiting beliefs. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and possibly transformative in that moment. The collective tension shifted. They weren't merely confronting a new obstacle, but simultaneously opening doors to autonomy amidst partnership. However, a bittersweet edge remained. How would they navigate such visceral change together, given their complex history? As Daniel reached across the table, a flicker of hope ignited, but uncertainty lingered in the air like heavy fog. Would this be the catalyst for growth or a fractured detour on their journey? And could she truly ignite her future while still tethered to the remnants of their past? The cafe's vibrancy became a distant hum, overshadowed by the weight of her conviction. With newfound clarity, Sarah felt the stirrings of courage within her, yet the road ahead remained perilously fraught with challenges. As Daniel squeezed her hand, hope intertwined with trepidation as they both questioned. What sacrifices were they willing to make for the chance at an authentic life together? The realization loomed heavily. The moment of truth was edging closer, and both would need to commit to vulnerability, confronting not only their future, but also their past demons. What awaited them just beyond the horizon? Would they defy the odds and step into a life they truly envisioned? Or would faded shadows from their history fold back in, overshadowing their path forward? The moment Daniel's hand enveloped hers, Sarah felt a surge of warmth, yet a cold wave of uncertainty crashed over her. The weight of their conversation settled between them like a heavy fog, each breath steeped in the gravity of uncharted waters. What was meant to be a moment of rekindling feelings and plans for the future had twisted into a maze of doubt, courage, and potential loss. "Let us take a step back for a moment," Sarah said, her voice a blend of determination and trepidation. "We need to establish some clarity about what we want." She needed to face the reality beyond their intertwined fingers, to strip away the comfort of their connection and assess the raw truth of her desires. Daniel nodded, still gripping her hand, his brows furrowed in concentration. "You're right, but how do we even begin? The questions we ask ourselves here are crucial," she replied, forcing herself to look deep into his eyes, searching for reflections of her thoughts. What are our priorities? What do we envision for ourselves, both individually and together? As Sarah articulated her thoughts, she felt as though she was peeling back layers of herself, those protective facades she had built over time. The thread of her past, where dreams had chafed against fear, now strung taut as she stood at a pivotal juncture. "I want growth. I want to explore my capabilities beyond fear's reaches." It felt liberating to voice it. For so long, her aspirations had existed like ghosts, shadows of what could be dampened by her hesitation. "Growth," Daniel echoed, his expression morphing as if the very word had initiated something within him. "I've wanted that too, but it felt like I had to choose between that and the comfort of what we have." A flicker of anguish ghosted his face, revealing the conflict reigning within. Sarah's heart ached at his truth. How had both of them become stifled in complacency, fearing the scathing effects of personal ambition on the fragile thread binding them? The deeper issue brewed between them. They were, in essence, afraid to really define their connection, fearful that ambition might sever their bond entirely. "Maybe we need to redefine what partnership means for us," she pressed on, each word imbued with intention. "Can we support each other's individual paths, while also creating a shared dream? What if my path drags you away from yours?" Daniel's voice dipped, tinged with a mix of resolve and vulnerability. The way he posed his question had the air of an uncharted risk, an invitation to confront realities neither had fully addressed. She paused, contemplating the implications. Then we face that risk together. We can adapt and renegotiate what partnership looks like in the face of change. Perhaps it means being willing to let each other grow, even if that looks like distance for a time. It was both a pledge and a challenge, the possibility of redefining love amidst pursuit of their individual dreams. The cafe buzzed around them like a comforting backdrop, the world continuing to whirl while their universe slowed to encapsulate decisions that could shape their futures. Daniel's eyes sparkled with understanding, yet uncertainty still loomed. Respecting her newfound independence would take its toll on him, as would his opportunities in an unfamiliar place. What if I take the job? He ventured, a shadow of worry flickering across his features. What if continuing here isn't an option for either of us? Then we'll explore alternatives. It doesn't have to be an indefinite goodbye, Sarah assured him, her voice emerging firm and steady. We can stay connected. We can create something new, even if it's unconventional. The words felt like an affirmation not just for them, but for herself. Resilient, adaptable. A silence settled, heavy yet hopeful. She could sense walls coming down, a burgeoning honesty building between them. Yet, beneath that awakening lay a chilling truth. The fear of failure still lurked, hoping for an opportunity to impede their momentum. Can we agree on that then? She asked, her heart racing with the thought of uniting their dreams. With purpose amidst potential heartbreak. No matter what happens, we will support one another, even if it means we have to ultimately part ways. Daniel's gaze intensified, the promise of their newfound commitment illuminating the space. Yes, but I want you to know that this will be challenging, he stated with resolve, as if testing her willingness to engage with the complexity of their emotions further. I'm ready for that challenge, she declared, a rush of adrenaline surging through her at the thought of real transformation. Maybe this was the moment she defined her life not by fear, but by embracing the thrill that lay ahead. I can't keep living in the shadow of what could happen, neither can you. Yet, deep down, she sensed the reality. Theirs was a commitment riddled with uncharted territory, an exciting yet daunting labyrinth of life choices. She had taken the plunge. Now, the question loomed, how would they navigate their individual ambitions while holding on to the connection they had fought so hard to reclaim? The tension hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst, as both of them prepared to embrace the future they need to forge. Would their efforts strengthen their bond or unravel it entirely? What awaited them on this journey beyond the first step? Forces neither could control loomed ahead. Could they face the evolving realities of their actions together? Or would the currents of ambition sweep them apart? The coffee shop's atmosphere buzzed with life, yet Sarah felt an uncanny stillness encircle her as she mulled over the conversation with Daniel. His confession had stirred a cauldron of deep-rooted fears and aspirations that demanded attention. She had always believed that love meant dependency, but now she found herself on the threshold of redefining her identity not just as Daniel's partner, but as an autonomous individual. As the minutes passed, an idea flickered in her mind. What if she took a leap, not just in her relationship, but in her professional life as well? The budding realization ignited a sense of urgency within her. The small marketing agency she'd worked at was stagnant, predictable. Though it provided a secure paycheck, it also suffocated her creativity. It was time to explore options that aligned more closely with her desires for growth. Rising from the table, Sarah made her way to a corner booth where her laptop waited eagerly, as though aware of the pivotal moment at hand. She could feel the subtle energy shift in the cafe around her. The people blurred into a beautiful tapestry of potential. With each keystroke, she built a foundation for her ambitions, searching for creative entrepreneurship opportunities that would allow for freedom and exploration. In the process, she stumbled upon an online workshop focused on sustainable marketing strategies, a perfect fusion of her passion and purpose. It called to her instinctively, urging her to break old molds and embrace a new narrative. Would she take the risk to invest in herself, to learn skills that could elevate her professional trajectory, and perhaps even lead her down an exciting path where she thrived? Sarah's fingers hesitated over the keyboard, reflecting closely on her financial commitments and the fear of stepping into the unknown. But she quickly shook off the doubts. If she wanted to demonstrate to Daniel that growth was achievable individually and together, she needed to embody that belief. With determination almost palpable, she clicked register. Immediately, a thrill coursed through her veins, erasing lingering fears of failure. It was less about climbing corporate ladders and more about finding fulfillment and perhaps carving out a space for her and Daniel to flourish. Yet, amid this surge of empowerment, doubt quietly crept in like a shadow. Was she using her budding independence to reinforce her partnership with Daniel? Or was she attempting to mask the insecurities that echoed back to her childhood? The chatter of her thoughts threatened to dim her newfound light, but she silenced the negativity by reminding herself that understanding her identity was foundational to reshaping their connection. After signing up, she took a moment to breathe deeply, allowing uncertainty to swap places with excitement. Then, a weighty awareness settled over her. Investing in herself was not just for her sake, but an essential step in supporting their relationship evolving. If Daniel answered the call of new professional challenges, would she match that energy? Feeling invigorated, she took out her phone and texted Daniel, inviting him to join her that evening to discuss their plans for the future and share her newfound commitment to personal growth. Their conversation had opened doors, and she couldn't ignore the interwoven thread of ambition that tied them. It was time to pull him into her excitement. Yes, she hit send. Sarah's heart raced with anticipation, but beneath that thrill was the awareness that they were both on the brink of monumental changes that could either solidify their relationship or tear it asunder. The uncertainty hung thick in the air again, both exhilarating and daunting. What discoveries awaited her in that conversation with Daniel? Would they find cohesion in their aspirations, or would the contrast of their ambitions deepen the chasm they had cautiously navigated? The tensions of their relationship threatened to spiral, and only the unfolding of their separate journeys would reveal the path ahead. As the evening sun dipped low on the horizon, casting warm hues that danced through the cafe windows, Sarah found herself pacing the floor of her small apartment, caught between anticipation and anxiety. The shadows of doubt continued to loom, festering questions about her decision to step into the unknown. She had taken her first bold move, but now she was teetering on the edge of revelation. Would she and Daniel really be able to grow together, or had she just opened Pandora's box? Small moments in the apartment felt magnified. The incoming text from Daniel sent a rush of warmth through her, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. He was on his way. The seconds ticked by with an anxious rhythm, hands clammy as they smoothed the wrinkles of her dress, which she hadn't worn in months. In her reflection, she saw both a familiar face and someone newly awakened, hinting at the potential for change. When Daniel entered, a wave of familiarity swept over her, yet there was an underlying tension as he accepted the invitation to sit at their small dining table. She could sense his own apprehension, an unspoken understanding that they were beckoning a new chapter. They had avoided these heavy discussions about aspirations before, choosing instead the comfort of routine and predictable shared experiences. "Hey, you look different," he remarked, a slight smile breaking the surface of the conversation. "Different good or different weird?" She countered, half joking, her heart racing in response to his compliment. "Good, definitely good," Daniel assured her, and for a moment, her nerves settled. Yet, she knew that compliments alone would not steer them away from the tumult of feelings that lay beneath their surface. "Can we talk about our futures?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt inside. His brow furrowed, suggesting he understood the weight of her question. "Sure. What's on your mind?" With each word, she laid out the visions that had taken root during her afternoon at the cafe, the online workshop, her desire for sustainable marketing, and ultimately, her yearning for independence. As she talked, she saw the shifting expressions on Daniel's face. Surprise morphed into admiration, but wariness lingered. He was processing her transformation, grappling with his own unaddressed aspirations. "I'm really proud of you for taking that step," he said finally. "But I can't help feeling, I don't know, nervous. It's like you're stepping into new territory, and I'm still figuring things out with my job, too." Sarah frowned at that, the mention of his own hesitation piercing through her excitement. "What do you mean? Are you happy where you are?" In the silence that stretched between them, she felt an urgency, a need for him to confront his fears just as she had begun to face hers. The conversation shifted, spiraling into territories steeped in vulnerability. Daniel revealed how he stuck with his predictable routine out of fear, how he longed for change, yet found himself paralyzed. The tension in the room thickened. "This feeling of uncertainty is daunting. I assent it," she whispered, the edges of her hopes bumping against the jagged truths that constituted their realities. "But we can't keep stifling ourselves, Daniel. We both deserve to explore what truly makes us thrive." His eyes locked onto hers, seeking validation, understanding. "What if it pulls us apart instead of bringing us together? What if I can't keep up with you?" Her heart stung with his words, filled with both fear and determination. "Or what if it strengthens us? Two people growing in their own paths could create something beautiful." Yet the thought fluttered like a butterfly caught in a storm. Could they truly empower each other into a shared future? In the aftershock of their exchange, they both sat silent. Daniel's grip on the table tightened, and Sarah felt the weight of what lay ahead creeping in. This was more than a conversation about dreams. It was about confronting the very essence of their relationship, about challenging ingrained beliefs. Would their separate journeys fuel a harmonious partnership, or lead them away from each other? As his eyes searched hers for answers, Sarah sensed that they stood upon a precipice, every bit of their hope and fear coiling together. The clock ticked on, reminding her that time was now, pulsing with urgency. "Maybe the real challenge is for both of us to get honest about what we want. What do you say?" The room's energy shifted yet again, the paths unclear but undeniably intertwined. Would they face the truth together or retreat into the shadows of fear, risking everything they had built? A question hung between them, ready for exploration or evasion. "Let us figure this out," he eventually said, his voice steady, yet tinged with uncertainty. And with that, the door to possibility swung wide as both gathered the courage to face the truth. But as Sarah prepared to peel back the layers of their plans, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was only just beginning, and the greatest revelations were yet to come. What new truths would they unearth about each other and themselves as they grappled with the challenges ahead? Days turned into weeks as Sarah navigated her profound transition from an executive bound by expectations to a woman embracing her own agency. The volatile world she had left rippled behind her, while the new journey awaited like a blank canvas. She meticulously crafted her path, intertwining her professional aspirations with personal growth, and that included her evolving bond with Daniel. The workshop dedicated to sustainable marketing wasn't merely a learning experience, it became a catalyst for reimagining her purpose. Each session pushed her beyond the confines of her previous ambitions. She engaged with new concepts, met like-minded activists, and distilled her vision into something tangible. The clarity she gained was intoxicating, fostering a confidence that permeated her life. Culminating in moments of synchronicity with Daniel, as they continued to meet and share what they were learning separately, the lines in their relationship sharpened. Their dialogue transformed, shifting from tentative whispers of apprehension to engaging discussions filled with vulnerability. They discovered that sharing their fears only made their bond more resilient. Daniel, in turn, began to unveil his own dreams, voicing what he wanted to confront rather than keeping it bottled within. One Friday evening, while they sat on Sarah's small balcony watching the sunset, Daniel took a deep breath, as if gathering the threads of his aspirations. "You know, I've made a decision about the job opportunity," he said, voice steady but eyes searching hers for a reaction. Her heartbeat accelerated. "What do you mean?" "I've decided to accept it," he revealed slowly, a hint of pride mingling with trepidation. It's a chance for growth, just like you've inspired me to pursue. I want to see if I can thrive in a new environment, even if it means being away for a while. The words hung in the air, radiant with possibility, but tinged with the fear of separation. I'm proud of you, Daniel, she affirmed, her voice steady as she fought against the wave of bittersweet realization washing over her. This is an incredible opportunity. That said, I want us to discuss what this means for us, he said carefully, reaching for her hand. I don't want us to lose what we've built, but I also don't want to stifle your growth. In that moment, the tension that had lingered transformed into a grounding force. Sarah realized this was their truth, that both could evolve, free to embrace their ambitions while still nurturing their unique bond. I don't want to hold you back, but I also want to understand how we can continue together, even if we're apart, she replied, her heart swelling with the understanding she had cultivated. I think it means redefining how we approach our relationship, accepting that while we may be far apart, our support can traverse any distance, he proposed, determination radiating in his voice. That conversation cemented their commitment to mutual respect and independence, fostering an environment where growth intertwined with love. They vowed to communicate openly, to share their experiences even miles apart. Sarah felt for the first time she could envision a future that celebrated individual triumphs while honoring their shared connection. And then came the day Sarah would present her newfound business initiative to local community leaders. Her heart thumped in her chest as she stood before the audience, a mixture of excitement and nerves electrifying the air around her. As she stepped forward, her voice found its rhythm, and she saw their faces start to light up at her ideas of merging sustainable practices within marketing. The clarity she had gained fueled her passion. Each word reflected a genuine commitment to not just changing her life, but possibly impacting the world around her. The aftermath was a wave of recognition, a chorus of applause affirming her tangible achievements. By the end of the presentation, she felt seen and valued, recognized not just as Sarah the entrepreneur, but as Sarah the changemaker. This was the moment she had thoroughly envisioned, a testament to how far she had come. Congratulations! Daniel's voice cut through the noise as he reached her side, pride radiating from his gaze. You crushed it. Sarah felt gratitude surge within her, a force that swept away any remnants of doubt. I would have gotten here without your support, she responded, warmth blossoming between them, a promise for the future. Through the evolving landscape of their ambitions, they had both emerged not only as partners, but also as individuals stronger, wiser, and irrevocably transformed. The distance ahead didn't seem daunting anymore. Rather, it represented a bridge to new horizons for both of them. They stood there, a shared moment encapsulating the culmination of their growth, and Sarah knew this was just the beginning. With newfound resolve, they embraced a future rich with potential. As they departed that evening, hands entwined amidst the undulating chaos of the world around them, they were no longer bound by insecurity or expectation. They walked forward with absolute certainty. Their capacity to thrive individually and together was limitless. This is your moment to celebrate transformation and uncover the stories of growth that inspire real change. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the positivity. Comment your reactions and theories about this incredible journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. It's crucial to continuing our shared journey of empowerment. Don't wait even one more second to share, because these transformative stories deserve to reach everyone.